Now we're joined by Zunaira Azhar, a political analyst. She is joining us from Lahore. Zunaira, thank you for your time. Ms. Zunaira, since taking power in Afghanistan, a number of Taliban figures have entered Kabul from years of exile. But the group's supreme leader, Haibatullah Akhundzada, is out of the scene. What could be the reason?
Well, I think it's very obvious. For decades, ever since 9/11, ever since the war on terror has begun, they have been operating in a very shadowy way. That was, of course, the reason to protect their leadership, for their whereabouts, who is who and doing what in the cadre of the political arena or the military arena. They were hiding it from the world for the intelligence purposes. Now, when they're out, of course, they are seen in a more organized manner. You will see a hierarchy. You will see their PR section more developed. You would see their political and military maneuvers separated. And if you look at Akhundzada, Haibatullah Akhundzada, the one you are talking about, he is the supreme leader, but he is considered more of a religious figure because he heads the Council of the Religious Affairs as well. On the contrary, you would see that all the basic arenas have been divided into the people. Like you would know Muhammad Yaqub, who is the son of Mullah Umar. Everybody was expecting that because of his lineage, he would get a very supreme position within the supreme leadership, but he is nowhere. He's just looking after the military leadership and assisting them. Similarly, you would see Mullah Baradar, who is the deputy leader, and he is the one who has been going and signing the agreements with the Trump administration. So I think it is because now they have divided their roles, because they know they have to operate in a more organized way. They have to formulate a government. They have to represent themselves in front of the world. So that is the only reason that comes to my mind. And Haibatullah Akhundzada has always been like that. He has never been in the limelight, but he's of course the supreme leader, so he is calling the shots.
Right, Zunaira, although the Western forces have paced up the evacuation process, yet there is still a lot of uncertainty on whether it could be completed by 31st of August. How do you think will the Taliban respond if the deadline is not met?
Well, that's a very critical situation for U.S. Yesterday, when Mr. Biden was talking to the world, to the Americans mainly, and he repeated the historically very famous sentence that we will get back and we will not forget. Now, today, all of the newspapers and journals are full of the criticism that that sentence has an influence coming from a defeated leader. So is Biden even fit to continue for the rest of the 3.5 years as the president of the United States? So if the situation is so, you can well imagine how things are in doldrums in US and how uncertain they themselves are of the future of the leftover Afghan Marines or whoever is left there and how to proceed about it. But Taliban is very clear on it. You have heard, we all have heard Suhail Shaheen talking about it, that if they are not going to stick to the deadline, it is going to be disastrous. So I see a lot of chaos going on 31st August onwards. And I have also seen a lot of flip-flops in the US policy. First, they said it could extend. UK also said it could extend beyond 31st of August. But when it came from Suhail Shaheen that it will not be tolerated and it will be considered as a violation of the truce between the two parties, then they got back to their earlier stance that we will be done by 31st August. So it's more of a speculative position, because after the blast at the Kabul airport, things are quite fluid, and for the evacuation, even the US staff needs help. So let's hope they will get out by 31st of August.
Right, Zunaira, the result of hosting Afghans in the past had not been so good for Pakistan. Now, reportedly, the country is again preparing to accommodate a large influx of refugees. How different do you think would be Islamabad's strategy this time?
Well, there is ambiguity, I would say. If you talk to the officials in the government, most of them have no clue what's going on. But on the other hand, when they are on TV, when they are in front of the media, they say that they are not letting any Taliban refugees in, but the contact points are open to establish a contact between those who were already here in Pakistan before all this mess occurred, and they are just struggling to come back. So all the people who are there with the paperwork, with the proper papers in their hands, they will be allowed to come back, but not the refugees. My question is, and what I'm skeptical about, is that how efficient the system is on the border to see if people are entering with the fake IDs, because as you've seen, ISIS has struck back on Kabul. We also fear that India will strike back in any form. And as the Russian president said, that we don't want militants entering in our country under the cover of refugees. So I don't know what mechanism is in place to distinguish between who is coming to Pakistan as a refugee who was already living here and they left just to see their relatives over there or for whatever purpose. So this is quite dicey, but I'm very clear on it that we cannot afford, in terms of economy, in terms of the terror wave that we have recently seen in our country, we cannot afford to have more Afghan refugees in our country.
Right, now the Taliban and the forces resisting in northern Afghanistan's Panjshir Valley are negotiating a ceasefire. What if they don't agree on a truce, and if there is any agreement, whether the Taliban will give them representation in the future government?
Well, first of all, I think there is going to be an agreement, and there is already a ceasefire. And whatever reports are coming is that they are constantly negotiating with each other, which is for the first time in history ever, because the Northern Alliance and Taliban were considered poles apart since always. So if they are talking, there is definitely a room for negotiation. There is a room to agreement. But even if they don't agree, I think Panjshir would fall in a matter of days because they don't have any supplies. It's a natural fortress. It is a difficult terrain. And in the first place, if someone has reached there already and they are actually surrounding it, it simply means they have already won it. So it is just a matter of days that Panjshir will fall. And as far as your question about their share in the government is concerned, I'm sure Taliban are now aware of the fact that they have to have all the sections and factions of the society incorporated in some way, no matter how little. They would have to incorporate them. They would have to give them a little share into anything and everything. And this is the only way forward to run and govern the Afghanistan. So I think there is going to be a power sharing agreement.
Zunaira, Azhar, thank you for speaking to Indus News.